Hi, welcome to Simple Shifts Conversations to Fuel Your Body, Mind, and Soul. I'm Martha McKinnon from the blog Simple Nourished Living, and with me is Peter Morrison, my brother and partner.
Hi,
Hi, how's it going?
it's going well. How is everything going with you
Everything's
today?
going really, really well with me. So today we're going to address a question submitted by from a reader. But before we do that, what's new and exciting in your world?
Number one would be, I just want to double check what this will be podcast number 20, so it's a little bit of a milestone.
Okay, 20 videos down. We don't know how many to go.
And I have another, I was asked to join another pickleball tournament coming up on next Saturday. So
Okay, and where will this pickleball tournament happen?
it'll be close to home. It's in about a half hour or so away from home. So,
So how many tournaments is this now for you?
about, I don't know, 6 or 8, maybe.
How are you liking the tournament play?
I like it, and it's funny. Some people who play pickleball, some people choose to also play tournaments and others
Mm-hmm.
don't. And I think for me, it's a good sort of gauge of am I improving or not?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm just out playing, I mean, tournaments are fun, but the level of competition is ratcheted up a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. It's a little more, not that you're playing much better people. It's all broken out by division or ability level. So I'm still competing with people that I compete with when I'm playing socially or recreationally, but there's more at stake in the sense of you win, you lose. It's just I like I like it for two reasons, I think, because it lets me know if I'm getting better because I am wanting to
Uh-huh.
improve. I like playing just for fun, but I want to get
Uh-huh.
better and be more efficient, whatever. But I also like it's a different stress level. You know, we're not professionals. We're not playing for money. It's not that level of stress, but just the fact that you're in a tournament, there's a level of stress that I think it's a good stress. And I'm learning how to manage it and sort of not let it overwhelm, I guess.
So do you think the skills that you develop in tournament play, I mean, and you played, I mean, you're playing now, you also played competitive sports in, growing up. So do you feel like competitive sports translates into your effectiveness in life? Like, do the skills you learn on the court translate into your ability to deal with like life stressors? Is there a benefit, that crosses over into the rest of your life?
Absolutely, because pickleball games are
Mm-hmm.
fast, I mean, meaning there you could play a lot of games in a short amount of time. So if you're a person who doesn't handle losing well,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody wins all the time. Even the best players in the world don't win all the time. So it helps you develop, I wouldn't say a thick skin necessarily, but everyone it's a game of mistakes. It's like anybody I'm playing with, it's like, yeah, you're going to hit some really good shots and some winners, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes in the course of a game too. And it's like, you can't focus on the mistake. You sort of have to, okay, I hit that shot in the net, or I hit that ball long, or I was way off, or it's okay, but feel it, experience it, but then let it go. And you have to move on to the next point because they come fast and furious. So, and I think that translates into so many aspects of life.
Doesn't it translate into our weight,
Dieting.
or doesn't it translate into our weight
Oh,
loss journey? Right. I mean, I
Absolutely.
just heard you say,
How many mistakes have you made? Oh, I ate that extra handful of M&Ms or that extra handful of potato chips. And it's like, well, okay, enjoy it while you're doing it, but then let it go and move
right?
on. And yeah,
It's just like
so,
that. But
and I think the other important thing is pickleball. I played doubles. I don't really, do play singles, but it's much harder
Mhm.
physically. And you have to really learn how to be compassionate with other people because you might be having a really good game and they might not be having a really good game. And I've been in the situation where you feel like you're letting your partner down and you just feel terrible. So you have to be gracious in those times too with yourself and with whoever you're playing with because you can't control that. So those are the two big for me, the two big life
So the big life translations or life lessons that you're taking from the pickleball court onto your rest of your life, right, is you got to be more compassionate with yourself and with others.
Mhm.
And you need to, what was the other one?
Like just don't get bogged down with your
Don't let
mistakes
your
because
mistakes overwhelm you. You've got to learn how to
yes, and
lose,
don't
right? Because that's part of
right,
life. And it's
right.
not in the losing that you learn the lesson, right? It's what you do after you lose, right? Do you get up and brush your
But I would say it is in the losing that you learn the
right, the
lesson.
losing, but it's how, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's maybe, and I think we're saying the same thing. It's how you respond to the losing. Do you go
Right.
home and say, I'm
Right.
never going to play again, right?
Right.
Or do
Or
you,
I'm never going to play with
I'm not
that
going to play
person
with that
again. Yeah,
person again? Or do you say, you brush yourself
yeah.
off and you say, tomorrow, like you said, tomorrow's a new day. Um,
Right.
and I think so
Or
it's the losing and it's the how you respond to the losing. And I think
right.
those are such key um, parallels to life and to the life like when you're
Hmm.
trying to learn any new skill, and that includes learning a new way of eating, right? And being. I mean, those are so transferable. So I think that's really cool that we
And it's such a journey, like with weight management too. Everybody who picks up a pickleball paddle for the first time, I grew up playing tennis, so certain things are very comfortable for me, but you're still a beginner. It's still a learning process.
right,
The first time you feel like you're gonna start eating better or exercising more, it's like you're gonna make a lot of mistakes and you just have to try again the next day, try something different
right,
or try the same thing again. Maybe we get a different result.
right.
And then gradually over time, you will
Hmm.
improve, you'll make different decisions and it will get easier.
So do you think like telling yourself, like thinking of life and thinking of this day as like a game is helpful? Like stop taking it so seriously? I mean, what's the underlying message that you could be telling yourself to like, could you just try to remind yourself it's like learning any new skill? Like me, I'm trying to learn Spanish and that's going way more slowly than I ever could have imagined, but I just keep plodding along, and learning and trying new things. And so um it, I
Yeah, I don't know. I just think the stuff just for me it just transfers. I don't try to necessarily
do any self-talk around it
yeah.
yeah, because I guess I'm just trying to think how can we translate that or what's the message we can be telling ourselves to just help propel ourselves and fuel ourselves forward instead of getting so stuck.
Well, for me personally, I know sometimes this self-talk becomes it's too
Okay.
much. Like too in my head and it's like I just need to okay, I made a mistake. I need to let it go. I don't want to dwell
Hmm.
on it. I don't want to. So I just sort of let it go. It's like it's there. It happened. It's gone.
Yeah.
Move on and sort of not. Yeah. So, not that I do a lot of self-talk, but I try not to let it dominate, take up too much time and just experience, I
Yeah,
guess,
just
more.
let it go. So is that the thing? You just got to let it go and
Yeah.
move on? Is that the
Yeah.
yeah,
For me
stop, don't
personally,
be
yeah.
analyzing it, don't be giving it more weight, just let it go. And I think that that's really what I've learned. I think that that's one of the big life lessons that I've learned in the past few months around my thinking. I think where I was lost for a long time was I was in a fight. I was overthinking my thinking and in a fight with my thinking and trying to change my thinking and trying to make my thinking conform, when now I finally get the best thing you can do often is to just realize it's like you're saying, just let it go, let it pass. Um,
Hmm.
I love the metaphor of the snow globe. Like you got all this thinking going on, or bad thinking, negative thinking, and just like the more you shake it up, stir it up, mess with it, the more it just stays stirred up and shaken up and messed with. And the best
Hmm.
thing you can do is to just let
Hmm.
it sit, let it settle, let it go, move on to something else, just next, next. And
Hmm.
that's been,
Hmm.
in some respects, it's like, why did it take so long? But then in other respects, it takes as long as it takes. And so what you're saying, like this whole, like, let it go, drop it, pivot, like, you
Hmm.
know, think about golden retrievers and, breathe, picture the
Right.
beach, whatever, has been life altering for me. It's just like,
Mm.
oh, yeah, it's a thought, it's a mistake. It's gone. Unless unless I choose to focus on it, right? And then it can become
Hmm. Hmm.
ginormous. But it's for me to just to
Exactly.
decide and have that awareness. And so, yeah,
For
absolutely
sure.
life altering. It's like, seriously, it's really that simple. Just let it go. Yep.
And one of the nicest compliments I've received on the pickleball court or shortly after a game was, "Oh my God, you're so
Yeah.
calm. Like that didn't bother you." And somehow that transferred to the person I'm playing with, to my partner. And it's like, it just, you being calm helped me be calm. And it's like, it just, if I'm all anxious and my hair's on fire, then it's sort of, then they get all, so, it's not even intentional. It's just, it's my process for how I've learned that works best for me. And it probably wouldn't do good with every person I have to play with, but there's a handful of people that have, that have said that. And it's like, oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And
So how is
it's
this
just kind of,
different now? Like, how is this different than your mental approach back when you were like in high school? Or
oh, I was a spaz back in high school. Mental. I was a mental spaz. Like, you miss a free throw or you miss a serve, and it just it would throw everything off. Or somebody's there watching, and they're watching, and you're trying to impress them or play perfectly, and there's just too much in your head. I couldn't even really be present in the game. So, if I had this awareness, this ability that I have now, back then, I would have been totally different results.
right,
So I think it's just a life for me personally. It took me as long as it took to get to this
right.
point, and it's not going to work for everybody, but it's working for me right now.
Oh,
So,
that's wonderful. Yeah. And it reminds me of this podcast I was just listening to where a young tennis player was trying, his coaches were trying to help him get to the same point you're describing at a much younger age because he has the coaches and he has the ability. But the message came back as, I know how to win, as a 9-year-old, but I need to learn how to lose. Again, because we were talking about
mm,
the mental aspects of the game that will help propel him, right? It doesn't matter how physically good you are if you can't develop that sort of mental agility, um,
hmm,
and like staying calm. I mean, you're not going to reach your full potential, right? Unless you can address the mind aspects, of the game. So pretty cool, very cool.
hmm.
All right, so
And that leads us in.
into
That takes
our
us
today's
perfectly.
question.
Yep.
That was very helpful, though, I think.
So this question is from a reader. her name is Nancy. It's brief, but it's deep, not deep, but there's a lot there. Some topics I would like to know more about: how to transition into maintenance, how to add treats without blowing my diet, and how to add the occasional high fat, high caloric meal when celebrating a holiday.
So what do you think when you hear those questions from Nancy? So she's asking about how to transition. She's losing weight and now it's time to transition to maintenance, where you go from trying to be in a calorie or point sort of deficit or a food deficit where you're dropping ounces and pounds to a place where you're just now in sustain mode. You're going to try to sustain where you are with the ups and downs of life, right? Ups and downs of movement, ups and downs of eating. And then also, sounds like she took a very strict approach to the plan
Mm-hmm.
because she's asking about how to add in, the occasional treats. And then also, how do you add in that occasional celebratory, indulgent meal and stay on track? And so, what comes up for you when you hear those questions? I guess, shall we take them? I almost think we can take them in any order, because they're all kind of interrelated.
They're very
Yeah.
interrelated, and I would say kind of what we have been talking about. And in the past episode of component meal planning, meal prepping, for me, I think it's focused around planning and preparation, right? If a holiday or celebration's coming up, sure, you want to have a good time and enjoy the company, enjoy the meal, but you have to plan for it within if you're counting calories or points. Yeah, so maybe you eat a lighter meal before that, or the next day, maybe you'll do some intermittent fasting, or so.
So it's real.
I think
Go ahead.
everything's within limits. It's the planning and the preparation is going to be the
So
key
it's
to
planning.
your
I'm hearing you say it's
success.
about planning. It's about preparation. It's about thinking ahead. It's about and it's really sort of, you could almost say it's sort of even analogous to, I mean, you could sort of do the meta tour around your finances and your budget with this, right? So, for example, let's say the holidays are coming and, I'm going to be spending more money on gifts. How am I going to balance out my budget? So it's really about just figuring out like a balance and thinking of it as a balance. And it's like, if I, if I overindulge one day and I just let myself do whatever I want in that one day, right? And then I come back onto plan the next day, then everything is going to just work its way out, And so you have to
Hmm.
just sort of
Hmm.
give and take. And like you're saying, if you eat this huge indulgent meal, chances are you're not going to want as much food. I know when we go on vacation or you've had this holiday time when you've really been overindulging, there's just this natural, in my experience now, desire to eat more light. After the holidays, I often want to just
Hmm.
eat soup for a while. And there's just this natural, so there is this ebb and flow if you just kind of, I think, tune in and trust. So there's a certain amount of trust in yourself that you're going to naturally just want to eat less. You're going to want to balance it out with, chances are, a lighter meal the next day, and it'll balance it'll just sort of naturally balance its way out. I think we have to remember it's not what we do occasionally that really affects us. It's what we do routinely, And so if the indulgent meals happen a few times a year, it'll just balance itself out. If you're eating indulgent every day or most days, then that's a different reality. So again, just trust
Hmm.
in the balance. And of course, you can't be over restrictive, and you can't think you're never going to have a piece of cake again, or you're never going to have an indulgent meal again, because that's just not life. That's just not how life works. It's going to ebb and flow and balance out. So that would be true of the indulgent meal, and the same with the occasional indulgent snack. If you decide you want some indulgent treat, no problem, right? It's like, but you're just going to decide. It's sort of like you have a budget and you
Hmm.
decide you want some fancy new pair of shoes. Well, what am I going to back off of, right? And not buy, or where will I cut back in order to make room for this sort kind of indulgent purchase. It's the same with, I think, with your eating. It's like, if I'm going to go have an indulgent dinner, what might I have? What might I eat more light? And again, you want to enjoy the meal, so you want to go into it hungry anyway, right? So you're going to want to
Hmm.
eat a lighter breakfast and lunch probably to make room for, and so that you can enjoy that meal. So balancing, planning, just thinking ahead, and just knowing that it's just sort of an ebb and flow, and you have to think about just compensation and making just minimal adjustments, and it'll all work out. Maybe you're going to take a longer walk, right? So, and maintenance, I think, is the same. You're taking now that thinking into life in maintenance. Maintenance, truthfully, isn't that much different than life in the loss stage. It's just going to mean now you're able to, and Weight Watchers does kind of guide you through that, through the app, where suddenly when you go into maintenance mode, you're given a few additional points. So that's what it really just means. It doesn't mean, I think the big mistake people sometimes make is thinking that they're going to lose weight and then suddenly go back to their old way of being, like once they've lost the weight. And if you do that, then you're going to gain the weight back. The way you lose the weight is to keep doing basically what you've done to get here, with just little minor adjustments and maybe the additional little treat here and there. I mean, and just wrapping your brain around that, and just slowly, experimenting with adding those few extra points into your day, and then just managing to see how that's going for you. So it's about experimentation and just management, and realizing that, I mean, I think that that's the big aha, that it's not terribly different,
It made me think of, it's sort of dating myself, but like balancing your checkbook, which
right?
truth be told, I don't really do, but I don't really write checks these
Right?
days. But it's like the end of the month comes and you've got everything in order and everything matches, but you're not really done,
Right?
right? It's going to come up again next
Right?
month. You have to do it again next month. So it is a continuation of
Yeah. And that's,
what got you to the
I mean, I
point.
think that
Yeah.
that's really great. And that's why I think we have to think about that we have to get out of the diet mindset, right, and come up with the sustainable lifestyle mindset, because it's perfectly right. I mean, if you balance your finances, you balance your checkbook, however you're doing that at the end of the month, next month is coming and next month is next month, right? We pay our taxes this year. We're going to pay them next year, next year, next year. You get the oil
Hmm.
changed on your car. Like there's this preventative maintenance that's just going to go through your life. It's not like, oh, I did that, like, oh, I cleaned my house today, so I never have to do it again, right?
Hmm.
It's like, no, these are things that are going to constantly need to be done forever. And it's the same thing with feeding yourself, nourishing yourself, exercising yourself, moving yourself. So that's why.
I made me think back to one of the first jobs I had after college. I was managing the website. It was actually for a
Mhm.
school, and I was talking to this person one time, and her comment was, "So what are you gonna do when you're done with the website?" And it's like, well, the website's a living, breathing thing. It's not like a book that gets published and you can't ever be changed. It's living, it's breathing. You're constantly, every day, you're improving it, you're making changes, you're adding new things. It just sort of struck me as interesting that from her perspective, like that it will eventually be a finished product. And it's like, well, no,
Right.
it doesn't work
And
that
it's sort
way.
of the same with this journey with life. We're never done. And that's why and I
Hmm.
think that that's where the struggle comes in, until we make our peace with that, and we realize that we're going to have to come up with a strategy that satisfies us and works for us day after day after day after day. It's that mindset to think, well, if I just do this for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever, 12 months, 18 months, then I'm done. It's like, no. And now you're just moving into a
Hmm.
different phase. It's just a different
Hmm.
phase of the journey. But, like life, you're just never done. There's always, every day, there's something, right? And we know that from, how long have we had this website now? Never done.
Yeah.
And I've had to,
And I've heard you.
that's one of my mantras. Um,
Mhm.
you know, because I think we delay a lot of things thinking, well, I'll have fun when that's done, or I'll, do this when it's done. And it's like I've had that realization and I tell myself, never done, never done.
Hmm.
It's never done. And so you've got to get comfortable with that and make peace with that. Because if you're suddenly sort of like your email box or something, if you're thinking it has to be, how long does it ever stay empty, right? Before something else flows in, you have to sort of get comfortable with the fluidity and the never doneness.
And I know you've said this many times, and I know you've probably written about it many times on Simple Nourished Living. What was it? Don't do anything to lose
Hmm.
weight that you're not willing to do
To keep it off
forever.
forever.
Yeah, to keep it
Right.
off, right?
So don't do anything to lose weight that you're not willing to do to maintain that loss, right? Because you're setting yourself up for struggle and for failure and for rebound if you do that to yourself. And we see that, like we've watched that, we've seen that, we know that in the world of weight loss now, right? The people who put themselves on the liquid diets, and then there's no healthy way of reintroducing solid food again because you didn't lose the weight eating solid food. You lost the weight just eating a liquid diet, right? Or the Biggest Loser, right? I mean, there's so many of those people who lost tremendous amounts of weight in a very artificial way, off at a ranch in a controlled environment, surrounded by cooks and personal trainers. And then they came back to their life and it was just not sustainable. And so yeah, so just realize that it's journey, it's the next stage of the journey. Give yourself some grace. Maybe during maintenance you end up gaining a few pounds, but you catch it quickly and you adjust back. And again, it's just an experimentation, and know that every day is just a new opportunity to start again, to try again, and that you're constantly learning, you're constantly adjusting. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, like anything. I mean, the habit just gets ingrained and the fluctuations get less and less. And you're just able to stay like, I think so much of life, like there's a pendulum, in the beginning where we're just swinging from the extremes. And that over time you just find you find the middle way where there's just, yeah, there are little fluctuations, but there aren't these huge fluctuations, and I think the more you try to restrain yourself and deprive yourself and be restrictive, the bigger the fluctuation back to over indulgences, and so if you can start to think just these
Hmm.
little tiny adjustments, the way I think a pilot needs to fly a plane, no, the way a person who's um, navigating a boat needs to adjust the boat. I mean, just think small, slight, steady changes, and suddenly now you're just living in a way that just feels gentle and easy, and there's no big shifts needed. They're just little gentle adjustments.
Yeah, I would say I don't weigh myself regularly, but I do know when I weigh myself, there's 2 to 5 pound,
Variation.
I'd say,
Hmm.
fluctuation that on any given day at any given time could be, and there's so many factors from,
Yeah.
you know, did you drink a lot of water? I mean, there's just so many variables that
And that's why weighing
I think
yourself
it,
too much, I think, can be dangerous,
yeah,
especially if you're just putting too
yeah.
much on that number. Um, because it can fluctuate, especially if you're exercising, you're exercising a lot, eating a lot, like you said, 2 to 5 pounds. Women with some of their hormonal issues, it can be even like bigger swings. And so, yeah, so you can't just, if you're on that weight loss journey, you have to be realizing that they're going to be, it almost looks like a weight loss journey doesn't look like a ski slope, like this straight down. It looks like up and down, up and down, up and down, but what you're looking for is a trend over time. So it's going to
Mm-hmm.
trend down over time, but there's going to be, it looks like an EKG kind of, just kind of like up, 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 down, but over time it trends, whatever direction most of us are trying to trend
Mm-hmm.
down. Of course, there are some people who've been very, very sick, who are suddenly trying to trend up, and it's the same thing, it's gonna take time and effort to get it to go
Right.
that way as well. So I hope we've answered Nancy's questions, and I hope other readers found this helpful too, because I think there is a lot to consider, and just wrapping your brain around the transition to maintenance and those transitions to the occasional indulgences, and just making that part of the journey, and not being overly, restrictive with yourself, and learning to just adjust and make those little adjustments.
And don't be too hard on
And
yourself.
yeah,
Don't beat yourself
yeah,
up.
that's like the biggest lesson. Compassion for yourself, for sure. Lots of self-compassion. That's where we go. I think it's that beating ourselves up that leads to the biggest problems, for sure.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good
And we'll be
day.
back soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.